Hello and welcome to Kyle Army Endurance Race. So for this race I've chosen the Audi, which one would consider to be an overpowered car. But what we do have is a friend who is behind us right now. They are in the Ford Focus, which one would also consider to be at the weaker end of the touring car spectrum. Now the idea in this race is I have the overpowered car and a base tune that I ripped up in 5 minutes. Dan behind in the Ford Focus will have a meta tune. Now Dan is one of the top Forza drivers, so the playing field has been made as uniquely as possible. So we have what I'd say a meta driver, meta tune, weak car, where you have me as an OK driver, OP car with a terrible tune, and see who would actually win at the end of an endurance race. Now for the beginning part of this race, we're going to try and work together. They did start further down the pack than I did. Obviously you don't get a choice unless you both qualify, and we didn't qualify. We just came into the lobby, there wasn't much time left and we chose not to qualify. We're going to work together once we get past Pappy Po, get past them, work together to try and create a bit of a lead. And as soon as we have done our first stint on our first set of hard tyres, we're going to be doing our own thing after that. So you will see Dan probably leaving me behind during the middle half of the race, as me and Papa Joe became together and everybody's followed me off track. I'm not alone there. It was an accident. Yeah, quite a lot of people went off there. Anyway, you can see them now. Dan Dryden, P3 behind me, 2.3 seconds away. Pappy Joe has a 2.5 second lead ahead of me, so I've got to try and reel that person back in, and Dan's also got to try and reel me back in as well. Start of lap 3, we have managed to catch up to Pappy Po up in front. Dan hasn't managed to reel us in just yet. We are still 2.4 seconds ahead of him, but now trying to get past Pappy Po up in front, it might slow us down and Dan may start to be able to reel us in. As you come around this corner, you want to rub over the curb on your right hand side, keep over on your right hand side. As soon as the triangle starts on your left, hard on the brakes, down to second gear, over the curb on the left hand side, stay away from the curb on the right hand side. It will absolutely mess the car up, it really unbalances the car for some reason. Keep it to your left as soon as the curb starts on your left hand side, dab with the brakes to get the weight on the front wheels, coasting it round in third or fourth gear, just past the 50 sign, hard on the brakes down to second gear. Rub that curb on your left hand side, again stay away from the outer curb on the right hand side. The sand or gravel, whatever's on there, will really put your car in the wrong direction. Come around here, wanting to rub that curb on the right hand side like Pappy Po did, and then accelerate flat out up the hill. Coming up to them now, looking on the right hand side, I'm going to try and see if I can make a little bit of a nudge, locking up a little bit, and then really lost a little bit of time there. I should not have locked up. You see Dan is now 1.7 seconds away, so we are being held up somewhat if you want to have a look at it in the grand scheme of things. Coming around here, going to try and make a move. The inside door is closed, no problem. Going to go around the outside. There was a little bit of contact there as the Audi up in front did outbrake me. Luckily enough, no harm, no foul, nobody was put out of position. Over the curb we go, really maximizing the abuse of that curb. Pappy Po went off track. I'm going to see if I can make a move. And they close the door again. Okay, some very good defensive driving right there, so we're going to have to try and play another sneaky move here. Coming down this back straight over the start and finish line, we're going to have the slipstream. I'm going to have the lead. Now I just got to try and figure out if I can outbrake the car in front. So I'm going to go to the right hand side, brake earlier, and then hopefully do the old switcheroo into this corner. As you can see, it almost works. Do I make it work? No, I just don't have it on them. So I'm going to go to the right hand side and then hard on the brakes, over the curb on the left hand side, really cutting that corner and get the inside line of this corner. Absolutely brilliant move. That is that position gained right there. And it's a case of tactics. You got to really try to do the old switcheroo on a car that is defending into that manner and defending very well, I must say. You got to try and play in that I can corner better or just cut it just enough to make that move work. From the outer part of the track over that curb, a little bit too aggressive there, and had to pretty much plant the car straight so I don't go visiting the wall. Over the curves we go. Could have gone through that section a little bit quicker, and up the hill we are. we have already gained half a second on our best lap time for just getting past that car. Now Dan has got to get past that car behind me as well, and that sounds like a him problem. Start of lap 6, Dan has managed to overtake Papi Poe behind. We have got a little bit of a lead, but they are also reeling me in at the same time. Again, like I say, they are a much faster driver than I am. One would say they will call him an alien, and the Forza term for those kind of drivers is alien, that are absolutely incredibly fast. Right, so I do have to keep my best to keep him at bay as much as I can, but I don't want to fight too aggressively with Dan behind, and thus Papi Poe being able to catch up. You can see I messed up that corner a little bit, could have gone through that a lot faster, so I'm going to keep to my left hand side, have a quicker run into this corner. But ultimately I decided it might be best to try and back out of this a little bit and let them take the position. The idea here is, if they're going to be faster than me, if they're going to be ahead, I can keep up with them with the slipstream and through some of the cornering, while also creating a much larger gap from Papi Poe behind us. The tactic may work. We'll soon find out if I can actually keep up with Dan riding up in front. You got to remember, this is an endurance race. It's an hour long of racing. You know, you're not going to win in the first 5 or 10 laps. If you get a great start and a great lead and you're well away from everybody else, absolutely smashing. But if you are in a lobby that is very competitive, like me and Dan are usually quite competitive if we can keep pace with each other. Let me rephrase that before he sends me an angry message. As long as I can keep pace with Dan, then the competition is just between me and him, rather than inviting a third party. And that's what you got to look at as well. On the grand scheme of things, you don't want to invite someone else to the party and then make things harder for yourself, especially in my position. If I'm going to be the one in the middle, last thing I want to do is defend as well as attack at the same time. So it's better at this part of the race to work with somebody, and towards the latter half of the race be competitive with that same person at the end. And it doesn't matter if you're position 1 or position 20. Like, you find someone that you work well with and you're on pace with and you're having fun with, and then towards the end of the race, that's when you become competitive. Start of lap 8, tyres are looking good, fuel we've got plenty of, looking out for the 100-meter board, hard on the brakes down to second gear and turning in. Luckily enough, we are keeping massive pace up with Dan, and we're making a really big gain from Papi Poe behind us with a 4.6 second lead, which is absolutely brilliant, and a 30-second lead from Calastbaton EU. Dan decides that he wants to go look at the wall, check out the audience and see what they think about his car. I don't think they were too happy because he quickly swiftly moved on from that wall. So thankfully we have that position gained again. I know Dan's going to catch me up in within a lap or two anyway, but if I can keep my pace up, Dan can reel me back in. And sometimes, you know, it's hard to explain, but when you're behind someone or you got to reel them back in, you drive faster or better than you do when you're in front and by yourself. If you totally understand exactly what I meant there, hit that like button. Because sometimes what is in my head and what comes out my mouth are two separate things. And yeah, coming around this corner in second gear, down the hill we go. Lap 10. Dan has managed to catch me up a little bit, 0.8 seconds away right now. Calastbaton EU quit the race. I've got a nice DNF right there. And Papi Poe, I can't get that one right, is 6.8 seconds away from us right now. See, Dan's massively gaining on me in that one corner alone. Could have gone through there much faster. We're looking at a 50-meter board, down in second gear and turning in. We was just talking about our tyres. We're going to see if we can make these tyres last at least another lap or two. The maths on it is you could do three tyre changes on hards, and then, you know, you've done your 31 laps. What we want to do is a hard, medium strategy. So we're going to have to make these tyres last 12 to 13 laps twice. And then the final set of tyres on mediums are going to have to last as long as they last. And hopefully the last end of the race will be the final big push. You can see Papi Poe behind has gone into the pits at the end of this lap. Their tyres may just be as worn as mine, or maybe more. Dan has managed to gain that position by undercutting in that corner and taking that away. Can't grumble at that. Clean move, nobody's pulled at a disadvantage, and now I have someone to follow again and basically pull me along is the best way of putting it, because they are again a much faster driver. Breaking down the second gear, over the curb we go, and round, skipping away from the sand curb on the right hand side. I am a second down on this lap off my pace. Tyres are wearing, there we go, front left hand tyre is on minor wear. The one opposite won't be too far behind. There, speaking of the devil, there we are, both front tyres are on minor wear right now. And like again, I've said it before, I do like the fact that the Forza have changed the way the tyre degradation comes in. It's far more linear than just a light switch now. So we are going to be slower than our previous laps just due to the way the tyres are providing less grip overall. Coming up to the end of lap 12, it's going to be time for our pit entry. We did manage to make these tyres last and not go into moderate wear as we're coming around this last part. So 12 laps on hard tyres is absolutely brilliant. Can't grumble at that. And we have created quite a lead from Papi Po behind us with a 30-second lead. The 30 seconds can be quickly swallowed up whilst we're in the pits. Whilst we are in the pits though, I would like to take a moment to thank our channel members, which is Andy Good, Jeffrey Anderson, DMC Motorsport and Phoenix Aster. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. But before we leave the pits, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Coming out of the other side, me and Dan have got very close to each other. I don't think Dan knows it yet, but he's going to certainly feel it. Coming out the other side, we do have quite a good lead again from the car behind. They are 28 seconds away, reeling in as Forza is starting to recalculate what we're going to be at the end of this straight. They are going to be 11, 10 seconds away from us right now, just under 10 seconds, as the game is still trying to recalculate. 9.4, 9.1 seconds away. Cannot grumble at that. And breaking into this corner, down the second gear, over the curbs we go, and surprisingly get a penalty for that cut, really. It was a very narrow margin right there. Brilliant cut though, if you can make it work and not get a penalty. It really did give us a good time boost right now, because you can see Papi Po is 9.8 seconds away, so gotta say that was really good cut. Going around here, down the second gear, turning in and trying to clip that apex on the left hand side much better than I just did, keeping away from the sand on the right hand side. As discussed previously, now we've gone through the pits and out the other side, each to their own is the best way of seeing it. I'm trying to keep up with Dan up in front and they are just pulling away from me. What Dan didn't tell me until further on was that Dan chose medium tyres. Accidentally, but he still chose medium tyres. So they are going to be pulling away from me throughout this middle section of the race as we go into the night. But I'm going to be doing my best to try and keep up with them. The reason behind that is once I go onto my medium tyres for the last stint, I'm going to be at a massive advantage compared to Dan, because Dan wasn't able to shake me as much as he would have preferred. That's my thinking, that's my logic right there, and hopefully it should work. Again, what happens in my head and what comes out in practice are very two different things. Breaking out the 54, down in second gear, turning in and over the curb we go, accelerating out the other side. They are now 0.9 seconds away from me. They are getting better exits from the corners than I am. Again, they're going to have a little bit better grip, but I want to be within that toe. Want to have Dan dragging me along unexpectedly. 0.8 seconds away as we're breaking the 100 meter board, down in second gear, coming in a little bit hot. Again, oh look at that slide right there. Surprisingly, Dan held on to it and also capitalized upon that. 1.2 seconds away right now as we're going around this corner, going through a little bit sloppy and just not driving my best as coming out of the pits on new tyres. I could be doing so much better. But we're going to lose a few tenths here and there. Dan's going to lose a few tenths in some sections as well. So we're going to capitalise upon each other willy-nilly as we're going through this track. We do have another 15, 16, 17 laps to go through yet. So lots could happen in that time. What does need to be maintained though is the gap that we have from Papi Po behind us. They are now 13 seconds away. Again, they've pitted earlier than us, but I presume they're going to be running the 3 hard strategy, pitting every 10 laps, and we're going to maximize the use of the hard tires and then go into mediums for the final quick pull of the race. Thankfully, because of the length of this track and we know that 10 laps is eating through our tires on the Audi, I'm not going to have a repeat of Friday's video where I got passed because they pitted twice and I pitted 3 times. I had got passed and only lost by a few tenths at the end of the race. Could have had position 1 right there, but hopefully we won't see that happen again. Over the curb we go, maximising the track as much as you can. Hear the crashing of the car going over there, maybe because it's a bit deep and very close to also getting a penalty for it. But luckily enough, this car is a rental, so I'm not too worried about damaging it too much. By lap 20, Dan has created a 13.7 second lead from me, and I've managed to create a further gap from Papi Po behind us. We're now 20 seconds away from them. I know at the end of this lap they're more than likely going to pit, so that adds another bit of time as I cut this corner way too much and give myself a 0.3 second penalty. What a doofus. What a doofus. Oh well, it happens. Coming down here, Dan's tyres must be quite warm because my tyres are near enough, I would say about 40% way through their life. So he must be extending the life on the medium tyres as he is 15 seconds away. Again, Papi Po behind may enter the pits. There we go. Just gone to the pits now as I finish this final straight as turning left. That is another 30 plus seconds gain. I'm not too sure how long the pits are on Kialami. I'll guess it's about 25 to 35 seconds long, which is quite quick considering, but quite long at the same time. Now Dan will be entering the pits at the end of this lap, and I'll be able to go for a good few laps more. So Dan's going to enter the pits and come out. We're going to be pretty much again on pace with each other, bar a few attempts here and there. But when it's my turn to enter the pits and get my medium set of tyres, hopefully I should be able to reel them in. But I need to really try and maximise the length of these tyres so I can get the best life out of the medium tyres I have got. Regardless of whatever happens, I have to pit 3 times. So being able to maximise the length of these tyres and then going for a set of mediums is going to be my best chance at winning this race. Lap 23, the tyres are both on minor wear at the front. Dan has been in the pits, and at the other side I have overtaken Dan, and he is 6.6 seconds behind me. Not enough. If you think about it, 6.6 seconds is going to be quickly swallowed up, and 25 seconds in the pits to 35 seconds in the pits. It's going to be quickly swallowed up, and he's going to have a good 20-second lead upon me as I come out the other side. Lucky enough that I have to fuel up, tank is big enough, and I can make that work. Coming out the other side, Dan is 12.5 seconds away. Still got to build my speed up and catch up to them, so that time is just only going to grow. Thankfully, Papi Po behind is 44 seconds away. We have created quite the lead. Now I'm on medium tyres, now I could do the big push, and hopefully the medium tyres will last the amount of laps needed. That is really what I'm hoping for, because if they don't, we're going to be in a right pickle at the end of this race. Oh dear me. Maybe I could have extended the hard tyres one more lap, but I don't know if it's worth it. There we go. Time's come down on Papi Po behind, 26 seconds away. Like I say, it's weird, the calculation. It takes a while for it, once you come out the pits, to recalculate how far away you are. Dan again is 14.6 seconds away, but Dan is also going to be on the hard tyres. You see now a few attempts here and there are coming back on my side. A few mistakes are also on my side as well, as I'm going a little bit deep into some of the corners. I'm really getting used to how much grip these medium tyres have compared to the hards. So it's finding your rhythm again. We've just done the last 45 minutes on hard tyres. You get to a nice little rhythm, and then you get another set of tyres that grip far better than what the last set did. Just takes you out of your rhythm really. Anyway, look at that, 14.1 seconds away, so we are reeling them in. Now we have, what's that, 6, 7-ish laps really remaining, because we're at the back end of this lap. We have to find 2 seconds a lap, which is quite a lot. I mean, hard tyres to medium tyres is about a second, maybe half a second in between them, give or take, depending on the length of the track. Finding 2 seconds a lap is going to be quite hard. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to really have to put on my A game here. And because we're at the end of the race, we're a bit worn out, a bit sore, and a bit, you know, it's an hour long race, and being behind the wheel and for an hour long, even on a controller, you know, it is tough to do. But as we start lap 29, we have managed to catch up with Dan. The great thing about it, I can see him up in front, and if I can see him up in front, he can see me behind. and that element of pressure right there will hopefully force him to make mistakes. Surprisingly though, Papi Po is now 47.4 seconds away right now. Absolute astounding lead from them right now. Cannot grumble whatsoever. Coming around this corner, you can see the tyres are holding on for dear life. I've actually done really well looking after these tyres. Coming over to the right hand side, braking just as the curb starts down in second gear, turning in and accelerating on the other side. We have managed to find a rhythm that's working, although I went a little bit onto the sand there and it did upset the car. We are really clawing them back in a little by little. 3 seconds away. I got to find 1.5 seconds per lap. Still a tough order to find. Now, because I'm behind them, although like I say the pressure is on, it also means that Dan may start pushing harder, which means Dan may start eking away as well. Never mind possibly making mistakes that could save us. It's a really tough fight at the end of this race, and it's really anybody's game, because I am at more of an advantage having the faster car, having the better tyres, and that's about it. Where Dan's advantage is being A, a much better driver, and B, being in a better tune. The issue is he's on a disadvantage from having the slow car and slow tyres. So it really is a tough call to make. Let me know down in the comments below as we start lap 30. Who do you think will win this race? Will it be me or Dan? It'd be great to see your guys' thought process on it and who you would think will actually win at the end of this stint. Anyway, over the curb we go, trying to really maximise the track as much as we can and try and claw back those few little attempts here and there. Over the curb on the right hand side, triangle starts down in second gear, over the curb on your left hand side, keeping away from the curb on the right hand side and accelerating as much as we can. 2.9 seconds, back up to 3 seconds, so they had a better exit. But again, coming around this section of front, curb start, stabbing the brakes, coasting around in fourth gear, start applying throttle as we come around this corner, keeping away from the sand in the middle right there. You can see it does upset the car quite a lot. Down the second gear, over the curb in left hand side, and accelerating back over to the right hand side. Dan is now 2.6 seconds away, so we made a 0.4 of a second right there. We need more. Really need more, because we really want Dan to be 1 second away from us as we start our final lap. Checking how much tyres we got, 44.4% worn. Oh, could we make one more lap out of these tyres? That is the question. Oh, they are very worn, and it does get me quite nervous as we come around the corner. It's now at 45.2. This race is now starting to become very intense and very hot, because is it going to be a case of their tyres are also going to be as worn as mine? I don't know. It depends how long they manage to make the medium tyres last. I just don't know any of these factors, but we are catching up to them. 2.1 seconds away, 2 seconds away right now. I need to find another 2 seconds on the last lap, and finding those 2 seconds could be so hard if my tyres decide to go onto minor wear and theirs are not. 2 seconds away right now, 53.4 seconds away from Papi Po behind us. Can we make 2 seconds up on this last lap? We have 1 lap of fuel left. Red lights come on, so we have no 1 lap of fuel left. Tyres are still within an inch of their life before minor wear comes in. 1.8 seconds away right now. Could have had a little bit of a better exit from that corner. Going round here, triangle starts, second gear, over the curb as much as we can. Starting to really feel the wear on these tyres, and a little bit squirrely coming out that corner. 1.5 seconds away right now. They do have a 1.9 second penalty, but I'm not going to count the penalty in at the race results at the end. It's not really matterful, as for some reason Dan goes gardening. Anyway, from that mistake, I give Dan a little love nudge to get going, and pretty much Dan knows I've won the race, so he gives me a little love tap back as I go over the curb, bringing over the right hand side, coming over onto the left. Dan decides it'd be a funny idea to try and move me onto the grass as well, but I hit the brake pedal and Dan goes visit the wall. Thankfully, no penalty for that either. He said, we had our headsets on and things like that. He said, "You've won the race, mate." Like, you know, he knew within the time he had a penalty, and the tyres were knackered on his car as well. He said, "You've got it. he knows damn well in his last few corners my tyres are in far better condition than him. I've nothing but reel him in on that last lap, and he just had nothing more that Focus can do. So he gave him a little bit playful at the end. That's the best way of putting it. I mean, to be fair, there was no harm, no foul. We was laughing our heads off. But it does go to show that the Audi is a very, very quick car. In the hands of me with a poor tune, or Dan, who is an alien of a driver with a slower car with a meta tune, the Audi still came out on top.